The James Show Podcast.
So, Jasmine, I don't know, she just got the new battle pass for the next season of Fortnite DC, but she's unlocked a new accent. Jasmine Crockett. Yes, we're kicking off today's show with an episode of What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time?
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body, Governor Hot Wheels, and he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
Today's episode of What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time? Actually brought to you by Hot Wheels. It's a coincidence, though. It's just brilliant marketing strategy. I wish Jasmine would call me a hot ass mess. Now, before I actually play you what she said that's making the rounds in the viral video circuit right now, we need to set the table. I want to set your palate. This is like why they give you the ginger with your sushi. You're not supposed to put it on your sushi. You're supposed to eat it between different rolls to reset your palate. So I just want you to know what Jasmine Crockett sounded like when she was first running for office, when she was first trying to become just a humble little state representative here in North Texas to go down to Austin. She did an interview with a local TV station. Sounded quite reasonable, sounded quite calm, quite civilized, and a little bit different than what you hear now. But here's the reminder.
First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. You know, no one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
I know, isn't that crazy? They grow up so fast. Now she ran for Congress, made it to Congress. And check out the new accent on Jasmine. Is this the same person? What is going on here?
Baby, because these people, they are crazy, because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things. Yeah, you ain't got to believe me. Just go Google. You'll find some of it. I'm telling you, and the wives is being messy and petty.
Man, that was worse than you thought it was going to be, wasn't it? Wasn't it? You thought it was going to be bad, and that was worse. Where did all that come from? We know you know how to conjugate your be verbs. We've heard you do it before. So this isn't even like an authentic, and it matters, because if she always talked like this in all times, and this is what the voters voted for, and then you couldn't accuse her of affecting an accent if this is how she always talked. But it's not. She's faking it. And look, hey, it's showbiz. You may not realize it, but politics is showbiz. It's showbiz for ugly people is what it is. That and, well, I got to admit, radio, also showbiz for ugly people. I know. You don't have to send me any message. Don't have to at me. I know there's a reason I'm not on TV, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, this is her act. Remember, this lady went to a $35,000 a year private school. She went to the finest junior high and high schools that the St. Louis area had to offer. I mean, her life was gilded. Her life was comfortable. It was upper class. There's probably classical music involved. People wearing ties. They had formal balls. They didn't have sock hops. So after going to a $35,000 a year private school academy, that was 85% what she wear. I've looked up all these demographics here. She then went to a school that costs about twice as much as the one as the guy you're listening to went to. So this lady's educated. She has a law degree. She never lived in the ghetto. She's never been surrounded by people who talk like that. This is an accent that she is wearing like a costume. And you know what? Here's the crazy part. It's working. I'm not saying this just for purposes of the show, but if you gave me the gambling odds, who would you put your money on to be the next Democrat nominee for president in 2028? I'm telling you right now, I would put my money on Jasmine Crockett. If I had to put it on anyone, who's ahead of her on the Democrat side of the aisle to be the next presidential nominee? Now, the establishment doesn't like her, which kind of makes me like her more. But and don't get me wrong, I don't think she would be a good president. I don't like her policies. I don't like her values. I don't like her preferred method of statecraft. But what she's doing here is working. People think, well, she's she's stupid. No, she's pretending to sound stupid. She's pretending like she doesn't know how to conjugate her verbs. She's pretending to not know proper subject, verb, object, tense. And it's working. You know, do you have like the musician friend who complains about music? Like, it's just so dumbed down, you know, just 4 chords and singing about your ex-boyfriend and it's just all formulaic. Well, then why don't you do it? No, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to put on an act and have it catch on. You've tried to go viral before. I'm going to do something crazy. Watch this go viral. And 49 people watch it. It's not easy. Not everybody gets the chance to just tap in and be the thing. Jasmine Crockett is the thing. The notable part, though, is she has become this thing by progressively acting dumber. Isn't that amazing? So no, make no mistake about it. Jasmine Crockett is not dumb, but she does know how to manipulate dumb people. And that makes her smart. That doesn't make her ethical, doesn't make her someone I would ever vote for. But as it stands, the criticism that she's dumb, y'all got to drop that. She's playing these people like a fiddle. And I'm not talking about dumb black people or dumb Hispanics or dumb people in her district. I'm talking about the people on MSNBC. They love this. The CNN people love this. The people at the Dallas Morning News, most of their staff probably loves this. The people that you see on TV probably love this. Liberal professors who don't talk like this and would never talk like this love this. Your questionable aunt with the short haircut, kind of dresses like a guy, loves this. It works. Pretending to be dumb works. Explain that to me. And that's kind of a rhetorical question. I don't expect you to explain it to me. It's just an amazing observation. Jasmine Crockett's accent keeps getting worse. And the worse it gets, the more popular she becomes. My next guest going to help us try and make some sense of it. Victoria Churchill's back on from Young Voices and 8 other jobs you're always switching around with. Your thoughts? You just heard the 2 sound bites back to back. Explain the slow moving transition of Jasmine Crockett's accent.
Well, you know, it's really interesting. To me, this mirrors just about everything that we saw happen with Kamala Harris when she was running for president, of course, last year. You know, Kamala was switching up her accent regardless of where she was, you know, on the campaign trail that day. I remember this from, you know, my time covering the campaign trail last year. But, you know, now in my current role at the Daily Mail, I cover Congress and we see some very interesting things from Jasmine Crockett. You know, again, she's on a lot of stages. She likes to garner a lot of attention. She's really making a name for herself as one of the people most outspoken against the president's agenda. And, you know, she, I think, is trying to kind of make herself a lot more palatable to everyday Americans, you know, regardless of the fact that she has a law degree. She went to an all-girls private Catholic school. And, you know, she's really trying to make herself a woman of the people instead of really this kind of posh and upscale upbringing that she appears to have had.
Right, and we just reviewed that in the last segment. $35,000 a year for her junior high and high school, $70,000 a year to go to Rhodes College, or $74,000 a year to go to Rhodes College, and then $40,000 a year at University of Houston Law School. If you add it all up, junior high, high school, college, and post-grad, almost $1 million have been spent on her education, yet she's out here pretending like she doesn't know how to conjugate her verbs. Victoria?
Yeah. And, you know, again, it is very, very shocking. But, you know, I mean, I guess that's really what happens, right? Like, you know, that she feeds off of attention. She feeds off of particularly social media attention. There was an incident, you know, just a few weeks ago during the Texas floods that she went on TikTok to talk about, you know, everything that was going on, of course, obviously Texas being her home state, which is why, you know, I'm sure you guys over in Dallas cover her quite a bit. But, you know, the other thing with that is that she actually had people commenting on her hair during that video. And then she ended up commenting back and being like, oh, thanks, you know, I just got it done, yada, yada. And so basically she took that social media attention and redirected it onto herself outside of the victims of the flood, which I think is just kind of just one in a string of incidents that we've seen her, you know, again, really do everything that she can to capitalize on media and just get as many eyeballs on her and whatever she's saying, however she's saying it, whatever it may be any certain day.
Well, I slightly disagree with you there. I don't criticize her for that because it's working. Now, I disagree with the, sort of the ethical component of making it all about you or code switching your accent or pretending to be dumb, like pretending to not know how to conjugate your verbs when you obviously do. But Victoria, it's working. What does this say about her voters, number one, and just like the people in the media, like that keep inviting her back for interviews and having her on and highlighting her and stuff? It works, Victoria.
Well, it does. I mean, again, she garners quite a lot of attention anytime that she does anything different. I know I cover her in my job, but again, I think it's really important here to look and underscore this because, I think not a lot of people know what the future holds for her. Obviously this discussion over the Texas and the redistricting maps, it looked like, at least for a while, that she was going to get actually redrawn out of the district that she currently holds. There was an episode that she did on a podcast with, liberal commentator, host, Mahindi Hassan. I believe it was before the break, so I guess it was, over a month ago now, where she said that she kind of had her eye on her exit plan for the House. So, maybe she's looking to jump into that Texas Senate race. Of course, that's, getting a lot of attention, I'm sure, from you guys as well. But, either that's leaving the House for the Senate, or, maybe she even might be looking at a presidential run. But,
she should.
She definitely knows.
She should. As much as I disagree with her politics, as much as I think it wouldn't be good for the country, she would be dumb to not try and take this to the next level. Because, Victoria, there are 435 members in the House of Representatives, and you and I could maybe identify, or the average person could maybe identify 10, 20 of them. Yet she's the one that's getting the most attention out of 435 people who are trying to get as much attention as possible. So I think the sky's the limit for her.
Yeah. And, again, like I said, I cover her. She is definitely very interesting to cover. But, she even is willing to call out other members of her own party. I was doing a piece just the other day about kind of Chuck Schumer and how his role, I guess, obviously formally he is the Senate minority leader, but based on polling, including polling that we've done at the Daily Mail, he's not very popular, neither with generic voters or really with members of his own party. There's kind of this constant narrative that we keep talking about as who is the leader of the Democrat Party. And, Crockett, just a few months ago, I believe this was back in February or March, she called out Schumer for backing a stopgap funding bill, which, overall kind of a boring topic, but this is basically overall kind of the messaging that played out on this was that Schumer caved to Trump on something. And so, she's been one of these people right there in the fight that's been willing to come out and say old leadership in the party isn't working. I think intrinsically say, old leadership isn't working, but here I am, really presenting herself as an alternative to the old guard in the party.
That's right. You're working at the Daily Mail too now. I forgot about that. Victoria Churchill, what's some of your latest work? I want to look it up.
Oh gosh, today we've got a very interesting story again because I'm covering the Senate. It's quite an interesting element here of Laura Loomer. Of course, she seems to have Trump's ear at least on something. She went off about Senator Mark Warner. That's going to be my next story I've got going up. And then, yesterday, of course, we've got some very interesting coverage with Congress being back. They just ended their month-long August recess. So, right now they're working on the Epstein petition with Thomas Massie. That's what's been hot here on the Hill. On the Senate side, we've also got the judges. Trump went off against Chuck Grassley, longtime Republican. I believe he might be the oldest serving member, at least right now. And he's definitely up there kind of in the record books for how long he's been in the Senate. But Trump went after him about a week before Congress came back for not confirming his judges. And, Grassley fired back, but he really kind of seems to have the fire under him, talking about the confirmations that they're working through this week on judges. So again, not something that's super glamorous, but definitely something that's gotten the president fired up.
Yeah, we'll be talking about some of that later in the show. Thank you very much, Victoria Churchill. You can find her at the Daily Mail and about 18 other places online. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, coming up next on the James Show, one thing she just mentioned there, the press conference that happened with Tom Massey, Ro Khanna, and Marjorie Taylor Greene with some of the Epstein victims. That happened earlier today. I'll play you some of the audio from it was about an hour and a half, and I watched almost all of it. And I'll give you the details next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there, football fans. I'm a little pessimistic this year, but I know I'm still going to enjoy the football season, even if we're not going to be winning any championships, because I have the Prize Picks app. James Parker here for Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. If you want to add a little bit more fun to the football you're already watching, download the Prize Picks app and find out how easy it can be to take that inside knowledge. You're a Cowboy fan. You know the roster front and back. You know what the other people don't. You know your team. So take that knowledge, turn it into some money. Take some of your favorite Dallas players and put them to work for you. And look, I had quite a bit of fun last year with it, where even though the season was clearly over, I still was making my picks and doing the lineups and having a good time. And look, it all starts this weekend. You can get Saquon Barkley. His number is 1 on rushing touchdowns. Will he get more or less? That's all you got to do. You do that for 2 to 6 players. You can win up to 2,000 times your money. And if you're just getting started on Prize Picks, you can use promo code WBAP and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. So download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code WBAP, and you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. You know, this Epstein press conference, it's important. It's a story that could bring down some of the elites, some of the moneyed interests, maybe politicians and other celebrities, famous people, powerful people. It's a big deal. We have a bipartisan movement here to get all this info out. They hold a press conference today. They show up with 10 victims that I counted. And I haven't seen hardly any reporting on it on MSNBC, CNN, or Fox News. WBAP's reporting it. I'm reporting it. It's trending on Twitter. It's trending on Google Trends. I check every day before the show. You and I are talking about it. But when both sides are ignoring a story that has all the pieces and the makings of a real ratings getter, what the heck is going on? God, that makes me suspicious. This is a big deal, and they're ignoring it. Because what are they reporting on instead? Let's see, MSNBC. A candidate for governor in Virginia is endorsed by the Virginia Police Benevolent Association. Really? That's a more compelling story, MSNBC, than 10 of the Jeffrey Epstein victims having a press conference, than a meeting between Ro Khanna, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Thomas Massey to get all this info out? You have the victims begging for the info to be released, and you're just, no big deal. We would rather report on an endorsement for a candidate for governor in Virginia. The hell sense does that make? I can't really beat up Fox too much. They're on a commercial right now. But this is a big deal, and the more it gets ignored, the more suspicious you get, and you should. It was a weird setup. C-SPAN went ahead and cut to their live camera that was on the press conference today, and I had to go to C-SPAN. Why? Because Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC were not going to carry it live. First off, what the hell? There was a crowd there, though, and there was a crowd of people that I think they were politically mixed. I think this is appealing to the Christian conservative crowd that's so concerned about, you know, sexual deviance in our society, preying on our children, rightfully so. And this has a strong appeal with the feminist lefty crowd, who think that we live in a horrible, abusive patriarchy and women are being, you know, just used as sexual objects and never getting justice through the criminal justice system. I saw both of those parties represented in this crowd that was outside. This is an actual rare moment of bipartisan agreement here. Still not getting covered? What the hell's going on? And so I guess they had to entertain themselves until everyone came out and started talking, and they were doing this weird shame. They were doing chants. And they got in this shame chant, like the episode of Game of Thrones, where Cersei had to walk through town butt naked. You remember that part? Shame, 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 shame. This isn't from Game of Thrones. This was in D.C. today. Shame, shame, shame. You know what? If that sounds familiar, that's the same audio that plays in the back of your head, or at least in the back of my head, when I go up for my 4th plate at the Chinese buffet. This is what I hear in the back of my head. Right? But it's so good. Just one more egg roll. Some more. And that was maybe Golden Corral. But when it got down to business, the fun stopped. First off, Ro Khanna was out there. He was pretty upset about it. Marjorie Taylor Greene had some strong words to say it. Thomas Massey. This is not some happy-go-lucky group. They are feeling this. And a couple things that Massey said in his little opening statement sort of stuck out. Number one, he made sure to start with, hey, whatever they're doing in Congress today about the release, that's BS. That's not a real release of the Epstein files. That's just another re-release of all the stuff that's already public, that's already redacted to the hilt, that doesn't put anybody on blast or give anybody justice.
I hope my colleagues are watching this press conference. I want them to think, what if this was your sister? What if this was your daughter? When these survivors speak, the Washington establishment is asking the American public to believe something that is not believable. They're asking you to believe that 2 individuals created hundreds of victims and they acted alone, and that the DOJ has no idea of who else might have been involved, that nobody else did anything that rose to a criminal enterprise. The American people know that's not true. Now, the Speaker of the House just offered a fig leaf to my colleagues. They're going to vote on a non-binding resolution today that does absolutely nothing.
And then the other part I thought you'd be interested in caught my ear. Who's actually being protected here? Why are we doing it? Why are we hiding the truth for these people who are abusing underage girls?
There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C.
Some of the stuff I do, I wouldn't do it if not for you. I wouldn't want to sit there and listen to the stories from 10 different sexual assault women from most of whom were underage when the assaults began. That's terrible. I'm quite cognizant of, the garbage in, garbage out theory. Like, you don't need to put so much evil stuff into your head. I went through a phase when I was a teenager watching horror films. And at some point it dawned on me, I need to stop putting all this gory, nasty stuff into my head. And I did, and I felt better. So I was going to do you a favor and try and present this to you in a way where you don't have the hour and 47 minutes that it takes to listen to the whole thing. But how can I sort of encapsulate the messaging that was in there in a short, succinct way? And one tool that we use in the talk radio business, super effective, is a montage. Well, I only halfway got done with this. I was making a montage from all the ladies who gave out the information on how old they were when they were started, and I couldn't finish it. I got about 30 seconds into this, and I'm like, oh, this is enough. I think this makes the point right here. But check this out. This is, again, worse than you think.
I was a 16-year-old high school student athlete who made good grades and had high aspirations for college.
And I was 16 years old when I was flown to New Mexico to spend a weekend with Epstein and Maxwell.
I was only 14 years old when I met Jeffrey. I had no way out. I was until he finally told me that I was too old.
I was only 14 years old when I was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein by a 13-year-old friend of mine.
And I was only 14 years old when my friend brought me over to Jeffrey Epstein's house in Palm Beach.
Yeah, so that's enough of that. I stopped with that montage. And the people you heard cheering in the background, they weren't cheering. They're like, yeah, you were 14 and being abused. There was something else that was going on off camera, and they made noise every once in a while during the press conference. Please do not think anyone was cheering for that. There was another point where some plane flew over real low and they had to stop. But you can see this was not an issue of, consenting adults. Or, they thought she was over 18. She said she was over 18, but she looked like she was 21. No, they were underage. And it wasn't by accident. That was the intent. And it was actually even grosser than that. That one girl said when she got too old. She said she started when she was 14. She did it for 5 years. So she got out when she was 19. 19's too old. All right, we're dealing with sickos here. Absolute sickos. They did not name names. They were asked over and over to name names, and they said, we're not going to do that. And when they were asked why not, one girl came out and she described the threats that were against her. Threatening phone calls, people that showed up at her house knocking on her door, people that would follow her on foot, people that would follow her in a car and never get out. People would be following her when she was dropping her daughter off at school. Someone would that same car would be there when she picked her daughter up from school. It's some scary stuff. And some negative consequences have already befallen other girls. The one that Virginia Jeffrey keeps coming up. She wrote a book about it. She's dead. Just died last year, 41 years old. Jeebers, what are the odds? There was a reporter that kept trying to make a connection between Epstein and Trump. That was kind of annoying. No need to play all that. But there was the other compelling thing that I thought you would want to know about is the survivors talked about compiling their own list. Now, if they make a survivor list, then no one can be held accountable. But not one person, not one of these victims knows the whole list. They know the 4 or 5 people of note that they were in front of, that they saw. But if you get all of them together and you get the 5 that they saw, plus 5 that they saw, and they can compile all of their disparate information and ideas of clients into a list, and then they release that somewhat anonymously, then that's a way that they can safely get the word out without having to worry about negative consequences. And so we may be looking for that in the future. This is what happened to Gary. Did he hang up or did I accidentally hit something wrong? Yeah, I think he just hung up when I was going to call back. Gary had an interesting comment. I wanted to hear the rest of it. But yeah, so I think that's going to be the next shoe to drop is the compiled list from the survivors. Now that's super interesting. Will we ever see these guys, see the elites that abuse women and have gotten away with it your entire life? Are we about to live in a world where that doesn't happen anymore? That's what's at stake here. And I think this is huge. I think this is huge. Like this is like ending slavery. This is like women getting the right to vote. This is like getting rid of Jim Crow laws. This is a new future where we have shed the traditions that we have inherited, as stubborn as they were, that have existed throughout all time, and made a new, better paradigm for our world going forward. I think this Jeffrey Epstein list issue is huge. Coming up next, you'll hear their response when they are asked, is anyone on the list currently working in government? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. You'll hear that next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.